and he just couldn't imagine sitting around waiting for more heads to pop onto a computer screen. Okay, hi everybody. Thank you for joining us at our second meeting, and I want to introduce Martha Taylor. Martha is head of the Henniker Historical Society, and she and I have talked early on, and then I forgot to invite her to the last meeting, and finally we connected the other day, and she could join us today, so that's great.
Awesome.
Go ahead, Daryl.
Been kind of busy the past couple of days with these foolish reporters. Concord Monitor has a story all written, and they want either a piece of artwork or a picture. So we don't have any artwork yet that I know of that has anything to do with our trail. So I'm meeting him at the gazebo so he can take a picture of me tomorrow afternoon. And I'm going to dress as a Scotsman. No. All the other reporters that are getting in touch with me want to know when we're going to do something in their area, and when we're going to do something in their area, they will publish a story. So I was polite, but I go, well, that was the reason for the press release, so that we could get some interest in your area. So we'll see where it goes from there. The Keene Sentinel, now is Roger and his group doing something over there, or we're not doing something over there, or?
Yeah, I just had a long talk with Roger this afternoon, and so I can report on that. They're going to support us in doing the project. Rich is really tied up and busy right now, so we definitely can use their name. The El New Band.
Nice.
Abenaki are partnering with us on the Keene site and probably all of the sites along the Connecticut River. And so I told Roger ballpark, I'm thinking like next summer for Keene. And that gives us time to finish up what we're doing here and maybe look at Newbury. And then if we get those done early enough and we want to do something else in between, we could. But it also gives Rich and Roger plenty of time to prep to do Keene.
Mm-hmm. Because the way I left it with the reporter over there was that I would get back with him with contact information with whoever was going to do the area. But I will let him know that it will be us with the Elnu.
Yep.
So maybe he'll write a story now and get some interest going.
Before you do that, let me connect, or Brian might be able to be a better one to connect with Rich and see if Rich is willing to talk to the Keene Sentinel now about doing a project next summer.
All right, yeah, I can reach out to him. I know he's worked with them before
on
some other things, so he'll probably be familiar with the guy you've talked to. So yeah, I know he's on vacation, I think in Maine right now, but I'll follow up with him and see if I can gauge him.
Oh.
And Keene has that huge portrait of Molly Keating, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what I wanted to talk about, was the reporters and so on and so forth. But
So
I probably
Colebrook, you had Colebrook, right?
Yep, I talked to Colebrook. She was the one that I politely said that the reason we sent the press release out was so that you would do a story to get more interest. And I kind of buffaloed my way through it. That there's all kinds of history, and I'm sure someone wants to hear that story. I had asked Brian because she sent out all the areas that they cover, and the Nulhegan Basin is one of those areas. So I kind of like, duh, yeah. Yes, there's history in the area, and it's ongoing history. So, well, I don't know how she's going to react to that. I was as tactful as I know how to be, which sometimes isn't very, but.
So we have Concord Monitor, Keene, Colebrook, and what were the other ones?
There was a gentleman from the Lakes region that wants to know when we're going to do something in his area.
You know where in the Lakes region?
It was the Laconia Sentinel or Laconia Sun News or something.
So, yeah, the daily. It's a daily newspaper.
And was that it? There are 4 of them so far?
Yes.
Cool.
Those are great. I mean,
Yeah, I think
they're
that's,
key areas.
yeah.
Yeah, Adam is
There's
from
already interest. Yeah.
Laconia. He just says Lakes region in his last email, but.
Okay.
And these are all from the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th.
Yeah.
I neglected to put the email address into my Gmail accounts.
Oh.
So I just happened to be going looking through there and saw that someone left me a message. And I'm like, what's this about? So I spent a little bit of time last night so that now it comes up constantly. And I had my phone with me at work today, and I yelled at my assistant for being on his phone this afternoon, and then he caught me on mine. So can't yell at him anymore for a while.
What I say, not what I do.
Yeah, that's what I said. And he goes, yeah, really?
All right, well, great. And I think we'll continue, especially as stories start coming out, I think we'll continue to see more and more interest from other
Well,
areas.
yeah, I think once the Concord Monitor publishes something, then the others will jump on.
The other thing I was thinking, Nancy, for the Concord Monitor is maybe a picture of, I like that basket, the old basket, the black one, the one, yeah, but maybe one of your other artifacts.
Yeah, he wants a picture of where the trail is going to start.
Oh, I see.
So,
All right.
I just picked the gazebo for now.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to get to.
Yeah.
And all he has to do is come down Maple Street, go across the street, and he's right there. So,
yeah.
But he seemed to know where he was going.
Good.
And that's great. Should there be another time when you're looking for something like that, if you want to think of the Hopkinton Historical Society as a site, then those 2 baskets that we have, the one from the 1770s and the one from the 1840s,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
photo of those with a little story.
And Nancy, while you're right here, I have this basket right here that my great-grandmother passed down. And this is the one that I was going to donate to the museum because of you and Lynn. But I want to give it to the Hopkinton Historical Society because her son, Charles, lived in town for a long time. Actually, the yellow house next to the cemetery, he built that.
Oh, yeah.
So
Wow.
it would probably mean more to my cousin Barbara, who gave it to me.
Yeah.
That she wanted it to go to a museum if I didn't want it. It's not that I don't want it. I'm afraid it's going to deteriorate even more than it is. Bill and Sherry said they could fix it, but I'm thinking maybe not. So there's a little hole in the corner from usage, but I will get it to you. She had it looked at. Bill and Sherry have looked at it. It's old. That's all I can tell you. I don't know where she got it. I don't. She was supposed to be the native in the family. I have pictures of her. She's not completely white, but it was hers anyways. And I want you guys to have it. So
That is very wonderful. It will keep company well with the other baskets.
And Sherry can probably tell you more about it if she just took a glance at it again to refresh her memory. There's a letter of provenance with it. So
Thank you.
that's what I have.
I have a couple of things I wanted to share. One is kayak ride. And then the other is a fun project talking to Roger, and probably a little update on my talk with Roger. So I'm making 2 notes so I don't forget those. Does anybody else have anything else they wanted to share?
I was just going to ask if you had any luck finding an artist. I know that's kind of the next big step. So, and you were reaching out to the Artist Association. So I didn't know if you had any luck on finding an artist that we can actually start kind of brainstorming on what it will look like.
Okay. And then I looked through the notes from our last meeting. I think we covered everything. What we talked about last time was that we would do a web page and a Facebook page. Those are both done. The NPR thing, that's done. Then I have, my notes are so cryptic. History, River, Dustin, Davisville, fishing and general life.
I think Davisville is something that Lynn brought up.
John Rice Father, 127, paper mill maps, Blackwater, encampment, center of Bassett Hill, Nulhegan, woman along. Oh, so we were talking about kind of some of the historical sites. And I know that was something that Brian was going to work on with Lynn and Nancy. Is that it? I had a note here somewhere on that. So I wondered if anything had happened with that.
No, I have not had a chance to loop in with Nancy, Joe, and Lynn yet.
That's quite all right. So I'm going to make just carry that forward, sites.
Yeah, so we should set up a Zoom meeting date, just get that started.
Yep.
So the two of you, and then you'll include whoever you want to include. Right.
So maybe we can have a little discussion about, so we'll be able to fairly easily come up with old sites, but how would we get the message across that like Abenaki people are still here?
So let me make a note of it. Let me get back to that. And just finish going through our old things. Thank you, Lynn. Yeah, we were just talking about sites, and I've got the little notes on what we talked about. And then writing signs. So, and then I'm supposed to be working with Lynn, Nancy, Joe, and Heather, and Madeline, so she would edit, writing up a project description. And the only thing we've written, I think, is Lynn, thank you so much for polishing our press release.
You're the one that got me in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
write a lot of press releases.
And you're great at it. So I think we need to start working on expanding that into more of a project description. And I'll expand, especially with the things we're going to talk about today. Oh yeah, there it was. Brian would, and Bob may be working on the sites too, Brian and Nancy. Yeah. And Lynn, if you want to. And then Daryl, you were going to do something with the dam. You were going to talk to the dam people about, was it records or something?
Yeah, I'll pop over and find out what it would take to get permission to do an installation at either one of the lookout areas. Good. You know, when you head across the dike to go to, you're on 127, you go across the dike, take a left to go to Henniker, or take a right to go up Cast Hill, which leads you to Henniker too, but you have those two lookout areas, and they have a signboard there, and a lot of people stop there just to get their bearings or to get off their motorcycles, take a walk or whatever. I didn't know if that would be, because I'm trying to think of another area in West Hopkinton that is in sight so that, things can't get vandalized.
So I have
the thing I see is the, I don't know what it's called, but it's the little house where they measure the height of the river and so on and so forth. That's another thing that I see that they would go to, people are around all the time, and that's the dam also.
Okay, right, I just put the notes on. You were gonna do signage and he runs it and Bob was gonna check on the record. All right. I think that covers everything from the last meeting. So we brought everything over that we didn't do, and we got a lot done, yes. So the two things I wanted to talk about, there's kind of two parts to the first one. So Martha, when we first talked, which was before we even met with the selectmen, I had this picture that was floating of the East Henniker, West Hopkinton Congregation of Artifacts, and I wanted to run it by her and see if that was her understanding too. So on that day, we had talked about maybe doing a kayak ride down the river and actually be able to look at sites from the perspective that that our ancestors would have lived done, right? And I'd also heard something about some steps, which I thought were like stone steps going down into the river. But the more I think about it, I do think it's the footprints, Martha. That probably is what I was thinking of. But anyway, we can also see the footprints that day. And then I've identified, so there's 3 different spots I've thought of. And one is, Martha, are you still with us?
If she's here.
Oh, good. There's a little park down on the flats there. Bill thinks it might be the site of the first sawmill. I
Hey,
don't,
there is a marker for the first sawmill.
and isn't it in a little park, kind of?
Yeah.
Does the town own that park?
Yes, the Rotary Club maintains it, but it's on time. It's actually, no, it's on the Corps of Engineer property.
Oh, it is. Okay. So that means we have a precedent of the Corps of Engineers allowing some historical things on their property.
But they also lease the land to farmers, so.
Oh, cool. So that was one site I had thought of where maybe some signage and a little something to go there. The other spot is I discovered Coosuk State Park, which is a piece of land that is right across from Dunkin' Donuts. Martha, it's that ridge you were talking about that you had identified when the history book talks about the ridge, I think, diagonally across from Dunkin' Donuts on the other side of 202.
Talking about what? I'm not hearing you clearly, so keep going.
All right, is my connection bad? I hope not.
Yeah.
Probably my ears.
Now, are other people having trouble hearing me?
You're a little
Yes.
muffled.
All right. Let me try putting it down here and see if it's any better.
By the way, your parts are in.
Oh, good, cool. Is that any better?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. What I was saying, Martha, is I forgot what I was saying.
You don't have to scream.
About the site across from Dunkin' Donuts.
I'm not, I won't scream because I'm not muffled. Martha, what I was saying is this Coosuk State Park is that piece of land diagonally across from Dunkin' Donuts. So it's on the south side or the river side of 127 across from Dunkin' Donuts. And you and I had talked about, when we were talking about lakes and different sites, you were saying that in the history when it talks about a ridge, I thought what you were saying is it was that spot across from Dunkin' Donuts.
Right, it's called Ridge Hill. And it's in a history book about Ridge Hill.
Okay.
I think most of our artifacts were found on the flats on Old
Right.
Concord Road where it's flat and down over onto the Coosuk River from there. But that in the olden days, that was called Ridge Hill. And
And
it's
so now,
maybe
now
in Hopkinton. I don't know.
yeah. So now it's Coosuk State Park. So the name is right.
Is it the state park or is it Coosuk State Forest?
State forest.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, it's in under parks, and what they said was there's really nothing there now except a logging road. So I just wondered if it might be one spot where we had talked about putting something near the dam, because that's kind of in between the nice flat areas of both East Henniker and West Hopkinton, where we know the majority of the artifacts have been found. That
Probably would have a hard time getting anything erected there because of all the accidents that happen. Well, I'm just saying, if it were up to DOT, they'd say no.
uh-huh.
There's the young police officer that was killed, there's a marker there still, and they've asked to have it removed several times, and it's still there.
There's one right next to it from another Henniker resident that got killed within feet of it.
Right. So
That's
the intersection of 127 and 202, it seems like every other week there's an accident there. It's either a head-on or a rollover. So that might be a kind of a sketchy area, unless you were to do it further up 127, where the sign actually is that says state. It's a forest. They just logged it off.
Right.
So that might be.
They have logging roads. So, and it goes right down to the river, except for a little thin strip that the Corps owns. And I guess there's a snowmobile trail on that little thin strip. But anyway, this is what I envisioned, and maybe it's not what we want to do at all. I don't care. I'm not married to it, but I just got this idea. We have a Coosuk State Forest. It's got the right name. It's in the right spot that we've been talking about. And what if we did something like we had a little, not a super fancy structure, but a place where artists could set up, Abenaki artists could set up in the summers, and, you know, I could go down and do baskets one day, and somebody else could go do some other arts another day, and maybe we can have, like, we can sell our arts from the spot on those days. And that hit, whoops. Am I fading in and out? It's telling me I'm losing my connection. All right, you're all going to see me in the dark in my other room where I have a good connection. I give up, Uncle. But anyway, it hits on what Lynn's point of how we also have the message that we're still here and we're alive. So that was one thought. And then the other thought, and we'll see these spots from the river when we do our river ride, right? Am I coming through?
You
Yes.
probably
Yeah.
see that spot from. Well, I think what you're talking about is where the old 202 and 9 bridge is that has been taken out. And that it's in that area, I believe.
What I was talking about still was Coosuk Forest.
It's on the other side of the road.
Excuse me?
That's on the other side of 127.
The state forest is on.
It would be the southbound side of 127.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
the river is on the northbound side.
What is?
The river is on the northbound side.
not at that point. I mean, you're facing the river, it's on the right. It's where the old covered bridge used to be. The old road went down and crossed the river on the right-hand side, just outside of Henniker, just as you go from 202 and 9 to 127, that goes a steep down. There's, an artist could maybe sit there and draw something, but you couldn't have a group of people down there. I don't think it's big enough.
No, it's not.
And I don't think the Corps of Engineers would let you do it anyway.
But I'm talking about in the state forest.
Do it.
And that's on the other side of the road.
Okay.
No place to pull off there.
So
The lookouts that I was talking about, they're just down the street from there.
No, so the state forest is on either side of 127, right across from Dunkin' Donuts.
right. And so, Daryl, where that big sandy area is, where like construction vehicles are always parked or whatever,
Yep.
that's it. That's the state forest. From there to the river, and it goes back down I think pretty close to that parking lot.
So I think that's state property.
Right.
Right.
We used to when I worked in Henniker, we maintained that area.
It's Coosuk State Forest. It's on both sides of 127. So what I'm thinking is somewhere beyond that sandy area, away from the danger of the intersection, but still pretty visible, that we just have a little, not a gazebo, but what am I thinking of? Pergola.
Kiosk?
Huh?
A kiosk?
Yeah, that kind of just a little structure where people can be in out of the weather and do some crafts, and vendors could set up, and who knows what else. I mean, maybe we want to do more there, but it was a little thought of how to use the arts and have, it's a pretty visible place if you do it in an area where you can see it from 202 and 9.
Well, why not go right down the road to Dustin's Country Club?
Huh? Oh, you're so funny.
Little humor, sorry.
And the other site, and when we do our kayak ride, I'm wondering if we can get, like, how do we get around the dam and continue down the Coosuk through West Hopkinton? Do we just walk?
Sorry.
Do we just get out and walk around?
No, the bankings are really steep right there.
Is there any boat landing on the
over
Henniker side?
behind Foster Sand and Gravel, there may be a place to get out of the river. But I don't believe there's any place to get out of the river now past the flats.
I did a lot of research the other night online, but it was hard to tell. There's a boat landing somewhere, but it looked like that was on the Hopkinton side. Is that correct?
So you can go from the park here in Coosuk down to where they rent the kayaks, which would go by the site at the Bohannon farm.
Okay. So it sounds like maybe what we want to do is 2 different kayak rides. Do one Henniker to the dam, and then another day do the Coosuk side, not try to portage around the dam.
Yeah, the society did one a few years ago going from Coosuk down to Pennacook, and it worked out well because people could bring their own kayaks or they could rent them, and so they could either meet at the gazebo, or if they were renting a kayak, they could meet at the kayak rental place, and then they would be transported up and go down the river that way.
And there's a fairly detailed map showing the sites along the way that maybe we could add points of Abenaki interest to.
Yeah. And I put together a map that went along with the tour that we had, and it's on 11 by 17 paper, and it's on waterproof paper. So I mean, I would imagine taking that and adapting it for the sites of interest that we would want to include for this tour.
So this could be more than just us as a committee having a fun trip to see the sites. This could actually be part of the trail.
Yeah, I think so. I think people would love that.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So we're going to do a kayak ride. We're going to do 2 kayak rides. We'll do and Martha, where do you think we should put in Henniker?
River Road has a kayak, has a boat launch there. I don't know if you'd want to go much higher. There's not really much any other place other than up above the dams, and I certainly wouldn't want to take a kayak over the dams down there. But then I've only been in a kayak once. So.
That's the area that I fell in when I was fishing. Right off the rocks. Just like a cartoon.
I bet. I would think it would have to be on River Road.
Okay, River Road to the dam, and then from Coosuk, it'll be from the kayak boat rental.
Well, you start at the little park where the gazebo is. You put in there.
Okay.
Right downtown, right near my house. That little park with the gazebo in back of the depot. There's a little boat launch there. Okay. You put in there and then go down to where they rent the kayaks.
So if we're thinking of putting signage at the gazebo, those
Yeah,
two
to
things
put
would go hand in hand.
Yeah, that is really good.
Well, and you know, there are signs there now too, so that you could add maybe just something to put the maps in.
Yeah. Yeah, a little kiosk thing. Okay, so it's the gazebo to, are we gonna go all the way to the dam? In the kayaks?
Took it?
Well, we were
Yeah.
thinking that it would go from Coosuk to Pennacook to the canoe
That
rental
section of the
place.
river. Are you still
People-
talking about Henniker to West Hawk?
People
Yeah.
have done
Yeah, you could,
going up, but you have to portage around the Coosuk Dam, that little dam in Coosuk.
right. Or there, I mean, there is a small boat launch that's over on the other side of the dam where the old town clerk's building. So I mean, I've put in there plenty of times, and you can paddle upriver from there.
So
So-
what if you put in West Hop past the dam? There's a fishing spot there, isn't there, Daryl?
There-
Across from the paper mill, and come down towards Coosuk.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you could do that. You know,
And
then
then-
the only question is you know, coordinating your kayaks and your cars.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so because what I want to go by is that Bohannon property, the town
So-
owns that property. And so again, we're talking about that village area. Then we'll have a view of the Henniker end of it from the river, and we'll have a view of the Hopkinton end of it from the river.
Right. So to go by the Bohannon, the easiest place to start is right here in Coosuk,
And
and
paddle up.
head towards Pennacook.
Oh, all right. I think I'm so confused. So if I'm at the dam and I'm following the river, which I looked at the aerial views of all this, and I'm following the river along, and I get down behind Don Rice's, so across from Elm Brook, right? The
No,
park.
no. If you're starting in Coosuk, you would be heading you wouldn't be near Elmbrook at all. You're starting right here in downtown Coosuk.
Brooks and West Hawk, that's where the rice farm was, is right
Yes.
in West
Yeah,
Hawk.
if you're starting in West Hopkinton at the Rice property, and you can put in up there, you'd have to stop before you get to Coosuk Village, because there's a little dam right in Coosuk Village. And either you'd stop there or you'd portage around and go in in Coosuk at where the gazebo is.
And then you go by the Bohannons.
So you'd have to think of those as two separate segments.
Yeah, the Bohannon, Don Rice is a Bohannon descendant, and I'm a genealogy buddy of his from way back. So that's why I'm getting confused, because I'm
Right.
Okay.
Top, and when you say
Right.
Bohannon, I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. No, it's a different.
How about
Yeah, Bohannon's are in Blackwater. Don
Oh.
Rice was in
The
West
wave
Hop.
on the way by.
All
How
right,
about this
so
weekend, Sherry, I come take you for a ride and show you all these places that you're talking about.
what we're talking really about is we want to do a kayak ride first, just to give us all a bird's eye view from the river of this village area. And then eventually we'll develop kayak rides with points of interest that can be part of the trail project. And they won't necessarily be the same parts. That'll develop as the project develops. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And Martha, when we do the Henniker one, we're gonna wanna go see the footprints.
Yeah, that's walking out in the woods. It's not
Yeah.
near the river.
No, and it's not near where you would kayak either, right? It's up in the rapidy.
Not even close.
Okay, and so maybe we wanna do that 2 different days, and that might be a smaller group.
When are these planned for?
We haven't planned them yet. That's what we're talking about.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to see. Whoa, I'm trying to figure
Tomorrow
this all out.
afternoon at 5.
Oh, okay, I'll be there. Sure.
And besides Martha and I talking about this a couple of weeks ago, probably almost, what was it, 3 weeks ago, Martha? You know Tom Ryan, Martha? In Henniker? No. Well, Tom Ryan and his wife, what's her name, Bill? Bill's sleeping. But anyway, I can't think of her name right now. But anyway, Tom Ryan is a good friend of Bill's, and his wife they have 3 kayaks, but one of them has paddles. Like, I'm not sure a paddle kayak is going to work well in the Coosuk River. But anyway, she's been bugging me to go kayaking with her. So I think I'm going to combine these 2 things because I don't leave the farm often. So
Want people to fish me out of the river.
All right. So the kayaking trip and talking about sites. So the Don Rice property that he gave, the forest he gave to the town, is there in West Hopkinton. It looks like it's way far back from the road. Bill said he thinks one of the issues will be that it's a right-of-way through private property to get back there. And so you don't have visibility and you don't have security. So in terms of, again, getting back to do we want to have a spot somewhere among that village? To me, there were 3 potential spots. The little park with the sign, Martha, in Henniker, with the first side of the sawmill sign. Did we want to put a signage there and maybe some kind of art installation? The other option is Coosuk Forest, State Forest. And then the last option was the Don Rice property in which I loved Don and Millie Rice, and I know they would love that, but I think it's too inaccessible, but until we get out there and see it, it's hard to know. So I think we should plan a time that we can do some exploration and talk more about that. I think we've agreed that the gazebo is a definite spot, right? In Hopkinton.
It would be a kickoff point for your kayakers going towards Benneker.
Yeah.
Yeah, serve a dual purpose. Yeah.
Yep. And Daryl will have his picture taken there for the paper. So, I mean, it's kind of etched in stone.
Camera doesn't break.
Well, it's kind of like the ancient artifact, right?
Yeah.
Hey.
So we've got gazebo. And then we can talk more about this, but I'm kind of thinking that there's a reason why the village of Coosuk is called the village of Coosuk, and the river's there. And then there was an area called Coosuk that became like Salisbury and what?
Boscawen, wasn't it?
Boston, yeah. And Salisbury, I think, 2 parts of that. I mean, all that was breaking up. Because Hopkinton was called what, number 4? No, Henniker was number 4?
Number 5.
There was 6.
Okay. So number 5, number 6, and then you had Coosuk. But anyway, I like the idea in my little fanciful mind that we could, and we have Coosuk Forest we're in, that we can kind of talk about a village of Coosuk. But I also understand purists who might say that we have no historical information that Abenaki or Pennacook people ever called that Coosuk. So I can go either way with that, but I kind of like to fancy thinking of it as a little village of Coosuk right there in West Hop and East Henniker. So we have those 2 sites, and then we've talked about doing that there'll be an exhibit at the library of some sort and something at the Historical Society. And we know the Historical Society will do a good job, great job. We don't got to worry about that. The library one, I was thinking we should develop a list of books that we would like them to kind of have featured with whatever they are doing at the library at the launch of the project.
They could also do an art exhibit there.
They
Oh,
could.
yeah. That's a great
Yeah.
idea.
All right. And then Henniker, you have some things at the Historical Society, right, Martha, that you could do an exhibit for the Historical Society?
Artifacts.
Mhm. You've got pastels. And then you said you had that book that was done around 1900 of some of the Indian stories of the town.
Probably only one story.
Okay. It's like a little pamphlet, you said?
Yeah, there was a booklet put out for a display where they had artifacts. Some of them were some arrowheads and things that had been dug up out on Oconcord Road. The mortar and pestle was there, big rock. Just a few things.
Yeah.
We
And
can
then
certainly, we
You know
can
that.
put,
Go ahead.
put them on display at the society, or we could put them on display. We have a display case in town hall that we often put things on, rotated every 6 months or so. Even stuff that people wouldn't ordinarily see. So we could do a display there if we wanted to.
All right, that sounds good. And then I did read somewhere that the library might have some things, and we know that
They
there's.
gave everything to us, most
they did?
everything. Yeah.
Okay,
We have
good.
all the stuff that used to be there, or 95% of it anyway.
Okay, good. Except the sign to my farm, right?
Heard they were gonna give it up, but that was 2 or 3 years ago, but if you don't have it, they didn't.
No, I don't want it, but I want Warner to get it, actually. Lynn, I want you to get it. The original sign for our farm, the Joel Howe with the date, is in the Henniker Library, and they would never even let Martha get her hand on it, let alone
Don't
Warner.
let me touch it.
No.
Hey, you know, the Warner Library has stuff that I think some of it belonged to the Historical Society in the 30s, and it got stored in the library until the society started up again in '69. And I don't think they're ever going to let it go.
Yeah.
Those librarians, boy.
Yeah,
Well,
we're a tough bunch.
Well, the one we have now is way better than the last one we had. That's all I can tell you.
Good. All right.
So, Nancy, Joe, and I had a thought
Okay.
that we could get access to the files at DHR and see what kind of information they have for the sites around here.
Excellent. Yes, please.
We probably could.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, you
And
should be able to. One of you guys or both you guys are archaeologists, correct?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how New Hampshire works, but in Vermont, New Hampshire's database is not online. That's the tough part. I think you have to go to the DHR in
We have
Concord.
to
But
look at the maps.
yeah, in Vermont, it's all online, and anyone who is a professional archaeologist, anthropologist, can request permission to get them. They've granted me permission. I can go on for anything in Vermont. Unfortunately, New Hampshire, you have to actually physically go there. So I don't think you guys, the two of you walking there, or even one of you, will have any problem whatsoever getting any information you want.
And did either of you guys who have served on the commission in New Hampshire, was Ben Wilson there when you were there? He would have represented.
Ben was head of, he was in charge of the Hannah Dustin Monument and the Daniel Webster House. So it was a little office of one. He was the only man in it, in charge of the historic properties, I think it was called. Daryl just took me through that. But there was a merging of a bunch of big changes at the state. But since Elizabeth Muzzy left, I think Ben has taken over her job. But Madeline's on the commission now. She can a little bit. We're a little perplexed because there appears to have been some question about the transition, and his name is still not on the website. Maybe that's a COVID thing. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, so I just realized that he's the new SHPO, and I didn't know how he worked with you all on the commission level.
He was great,
Okay.
and he even hired my grandson to do some work on the Daniel Webster House. And doesn't he live right across from the Historical Society?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And the bow tie. I mean, it's just adorable.
Yes.
I love Ben Wilson.
Good. So that's who we would go through to look at the records now.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah, both Daryl and
What a
I.
good word for me.
Right, Daryl and I have both been trying to call him since he took over, and he hasn't returned our calls. But I think between whatever what's going on with him taking the job and COVID, that's probably what it is. Because, yeah, we had a very good working relationship. Yeah. All right, so here's my piece de resistance. In talking with Roger, they're very busy, Elmi. They're a small tribe, but they are like so great. Brian will back me up on this in terms of being committed to historical accuracy and really wanting to see these things done. They're doing a lot of this work. They're working with the Brattleboro Retreat Farm on the grant they got to the Abenaki history there. They've worked on a grant project at Turner Falls. Brian could probably talk more to that than I really captured from Roger. But the important point, and they're partnering with us 100%. It's just a matter of time. They're a really small tribe and they're really, really busy. But if we look at Keene for next year, I think that's going to loosen it up. And Roger's going to talk to Rich and get back to me in the next few days to finalize it. But it looks really good that they're going to be partnering. I told them that we would all support them 100% and help them with whatever they need in working with Keene. And I told him we do a lot of this Zooming. And that was when he was like, yeah, not me.
So any thought to talking to the Massatequis descendants?
Well, I think that definitely as we develop that project, we will. But wait till you Lynn and Nancy hear what idea came out of his talk.
There were also a number of them in El Nu.
Excuse me? Oh, good.
There's a number of their descendants in El Nu. Yep.
Good. So as we were talking, we got to talking about artifacts. And I can't remember what kicked it off, but remember Basket Out of the Attic days?
Yeah.
I think we need to do an artifacts out of the attic days.
Okay.
We could do that.
Yeah, we'll do one for the 4 towns, Bradford, Henniker, Hopkinton, and Warner. And people from all 4 towns bring their artifacts in. We'll have to reassure them that nobody's going to take them away from them. Slap their hands that they have them. And,
we've got this down to it. We've done 3 Basket Out of the Attic days, so we've got it down to a science now. You know, you get a couple photographers, get people taking notes. You know, yeah.
Experts identified. Yeah.
Part of the subtext of Baskets Out of the Attic was to make local historical societies realize that it's more than just stone tools that show up as Abenaki collections within their collections.
Right.
But we never focused on the stone tools.
Right.
Right.
We wanted
Well,
them to go
so
beyond that.
the responses I got, it would have been going back a few years now because I was still at MCHM. When I contacted all of the historical societies about like what native stuff do you have in your collections, and P.S. it's not just stone tools, you know, I'm listed. It could be beadwork, it could be snowshoes, it could be anything, but everybody writes back with their stone tool stories.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always wanted to visit each and every historical society, which would take years, and look at their collections, because I know, especially like up in the White Mountains, they got to have baskets that the Massatequis family was selling up there, and beadwork. It's got to be, you know, they probably just don't recognize it, you know.
Right. The Watsels were selling baskets up there before they moved to Newbury. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but what brought it to my mind was we were talking about Lake Massasauga and about, Martha, it was Eastman, not a Henniker, that saw the fire on the back of the lake and met the fellow that he called Massasauga, Big Chief. I don't believe that was really the guy's name, but at any rate. And then, you know, Price's map says it was just a camping place, but Eastman's account is that his wife had already died. He had buried her there. And then every year he went to visit until he found him dead, and then he buried him beside his wife. So that's more than just a camping place. But my foster daughter's family has fish weights and artifacts that they dug up at the stream that goes in where the fish run. So as we were talking about that, and Roger was talking about, I was telling him Martha's story about going to the Indian tie-up. And so what Roger was saying is it depends on what time frame you're in. So like we can look at a site and what happened there 1,000 years ago is a really different thing than what happened 10,000 years ago, right?
Right.
And so it made me think more about not just contact period, which is when I tend to think, but looking at things over time. And so in the artifacts out of the attic day, what I like is we could get some expert information on time periods, dating, rough estimate of the time
So-
period that the artifacts were from.
We have a great story. Nancy Jo and I went down to, I think it was Kingston, Nance, is that where we went? They invited us to come down, and they had their objects laid out, and the story that they had in their heads is they were going to be talking about contact period. And we walked in and we're like, you've got like an archaic site here, and it blew their minds,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
this is from thousands of years ago, like, wow. Yeah.
yeah.
So, what would be fun is if we could, at the end of the day, line up all the objects and show them just, how long. I mean, because over in Claremont, there was stuff from 10,000 years, in the Hunter site, that people return to this spot over and over again for 10,000, for the entirety of probably history of since the glaciers left,
Right.
And that would be, and of course, what people did in the spot was different,
Right.
and the artifacts look different. And then it would be really interesting at the end of the day to say, now imagine what is missing from this picture,
Yeah.
because the stone tools survived, but what didn't survive?
Right.
Imagine.
The baskets, the artifacts, the clothing, and the people.
Exactly.
Some of the descendants.
Stories.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep,
That'd be a fun day.
it would. I
Mhm.
think so. What do you think, Martha? Do you think people in Hanukkah would like that?
Most of them have never been up to the footprints in the rock either.
Right,
Never heard of them nowadays.
right.
Everybody used to know. We used to take the Girl Scouts up there, but once that stopped and the colleges kind of restricted it for driving nearby,
Mm-hmm.
but it's getting lost, the story.
Well, and the college, if we explain what we're doing, they might work with us to figure a way to make it more accessible to.
Yeah, there's a road that when I go up there, I give them a call and say, hey, can I drive up the road that you closed?
Yeah.
I don't know, a lot of cars they wouldn't want up there, but
Right.
you know.
So, but how, do you think people in Hanukkah would be responsive to this artifacts out of the attic day, where they would bring whatever they've collected, and they don't have to have collected them in town, but that's what we hope is we'll see a lot of artifacts from town.
Yeah, they might. I mean, we used to have a couple of times we've had programs. We've had people bring their collections of Hanukkah things.
Yeah.
But in this case, I know we've got some baskets in this society that I couldn't possibly tell you if they were Indian or not. So
So we'll
they
help you
made,
with that.
Sherry could in a second.
We'll help you with that, Martha.
but I think if you promote it with, old items,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they don't need to know they're Indian when they bring it in. So
There you go.
Right.
Light them.
So the way that we always set up basket days, we set it up expecting that people were not going to bring in Northeastern baskets exclusively, or even baskets necessarily. So there was always there were a couple of experts in Abenaki Northeastern kind of baskets, but then always somebody else who was there who knew baskets from around the world,
Right.
because everything shows up,
Yeah, didn't we get like a little tin box or something? We got a few things that they were containers, I guess you could say. but
Right.
they were baskets,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Any antiques expert, yeah.
Yeah.
So do people think that'll be a good idea? I love that idea.
I think that'd be fun. And we might, well, we can talk out the details. It might be like maybe they bring their stuff one day and then we put it all together and we would talk about it on another day and have that
That would be
discussion
lovely.
about what
I
they're
think
looking at and what's missing.
I think some people, like my foster daughter's husband, he keeps them hidden and he rarely shows them to anybody. He's fearful of, if people know they're at his house, they might try to come rob him.
Mm.
And then also, they know he owns waterfront property, so I don't know if he cares so much about protecting our artifacts in his site, but I think he cares about protecting his dog from.
Well, I think we'd have to be very careful to not give out any specific site information.
Yes.
Where even who owns it.
Right.
Well,
And
that's the thing. Mhm.
So just a general picture.
I
Right.
think we can do it two ways. I mean, some people are going to have stuff and they're going to be excited to come in person and be very open and vocal. But I think
Right.
we should offer a private time for people who want to remain kind of anonymous to be able to come talk to Bob or you guys and get some information, but not be exposed to a big public thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So you had talked about something else. You brought up something else, Lynn, and I kind of put you off on it. What was it?
I have no memory anymore, Sherry.
I'm not either. It's lying. What did I say? Oh, the ongoing presence. No, we talked about that. And
Well,
Brian,
and you could always talk to the town, since they're very supportive of having something right at the park in downtown, because there's lots of there's parking there and there's places to eat nearby and a
Yeah.
bank with an ATM.
yeah, we could do demonstrations at the bandstand probably from time to time, huh?
Or,
Plan a few things like that.
well,
And I
right,
think
the debates, the artist group starting up there probably would be amenable to having, native artists.
Cool. Okay, and then, so does that answer your question, Brian, about artists?
Well, no, I was meaning more towards, narrowing our focus on, I had a couple questions. I got to try to put my thoughts together. They're all jumbled. But how many sites are we thinking in Hop/Coosuk/Henniker? Are we talking, 3 sites, 1 in each? Or are we talking, just so we can kind of I'm trying to make notes so when, Nancy, Joe, Lynn, and possibly Bob and I sit together and talk, we know exactly what we're looking at. Are we trying to do 3 sites, 1 site? I know we have, but the gazebo pretty much is a lock. So that's 1 site down. So how many more
Well-
sites are we thinking of for this first kickoff?
I'd say probably more than 3. Because another thing we could do is go to one or all of the old garrison sites and tell a different side of the story. Like
Yeah.
we
Okay, that's a good idea.
did for Putney Hill. We talked about the garrison on Putney Hill and the one down here at the foot of the hill in Coosuk. But then there was, so there's other sides of the story for those early contact stuff that could be told. And there's a historic marker supposedly marking the site where Abram Kimball was captured by the Indians. So maybe, you could put up a marker there
Retelling.
with.
Yeah. That's my favorite thing that's come out of this is possibly, reframing a lot of
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
state markers. And maybe that we can roll that into this, who knows if we can roll that into the same project or if that's another project down the road. But okay, so that answers that. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said, no, I think we can roll that into here.
That's what I was thinking. Because most of those are at some important site. So it's
Yeah,
just telling a skewed version.
I know that the New Hampshire Commission is also working on changing the
Dover, right?
yeah, and other places
think it was
changing the
Dover, yeah.
signs. But I think they're looking at it more broadly, just so that
Right, they're getting
you're
a
aware
list
of
of all,
that. Huh?
they're getting a list of all of them, right, Madeline?
They're going to be looking at all of them.
Yes.
Nancy Jo
So-
photographed all the state signs
Right.
many years ago.
Probably
So-
been more added since then.
So Madeline, you could probably get a list of the Bradford, Henniker, Warner, and Hopkinton state marker signs.
I have not gotten the list yet.
Right, but when you do,
So,
And
When I do,
and some of the signs here in Hopkinton, I think they're more local than that. I don't
Okay.
even think Heather
Right.
would know.
they're
But
not
there's-
like the
they're
state
local.
markers.
The state historical markers on the roadsides
That's what
are
I'm
these
talking about.
state-local partnerships. And there's, I want to say 100 and something in New Hampshire. And then there's the signs put up by all these organizations in the 20s and 30s that the town would probably have record of. For Hopkinton,
Okay.
we have a record of all the historical markers in our
All
town.
right, like stuff put up by like the DAR, that kind of
Yes.
stuff. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. All right.
Yeah, there are about 20 in Hopkinton.
Oh wow. Okay.
Martha, do you have something similar to that in Henniker?
Don't know. It's the only one I can think of.
You've got one?
All right. But looping back to your question on the artist, Sherry, my question was in regards to, I was kind of jumping the gun because I know we have to pick the, however many sites we're going to do first, but I thought I had remembered you saying you were going to reach out to the New Hampshire Artist Association, for lack of a better word, to see if there was anybody interested in doing this. So I didn't know if we had an artist to actually start kind of creating some rendition of what we want at these sites. It would kind of help, with Daryl's thing about artwork.
And no, because number one is I think we want an Abenaki artist.
Mhm.
And I don't think that has to be, here we are fighting the whole Vermont and New Hampshire artists. I think we'll be going through our Abenaki Artists Association to pick artists.
Yeah, I know Francine would probably be more than happy to put something together for us for
Yeah,
1, 2, or
Yeah.
more, as long as we gave her some guidance as to what we were looking at in
Yep.
terms of having her do.
So the New Hampshire arts, what I want them to do is pay our artists. I want money.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes
And,
sense.
and
So,
11
Sherry, you're totally right. This would be a NEFA project. This is public art,
right.
right?
Right.
We want to hire a native artist
Yes.
to design public signs.
Yes.
That totally should be a NEFA project.
Yeah.
And if you go through one of the state recognized groups, they might support that.
More
I think
likely.
they will.
Yeah.
I got a hold of Vera to ask about that. And so what happened was the Native American pocket in NEFA is gone.
They did away with it, yeah.
Yeah. So now Native Americans are encouraged to just go through the regular, which honestly I think is in our favor.
Probably easier.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember what was the lady's name who was at the Arts Council before Ginny Loopy? Lynn. She said that she thought part of the problem was where they got their funding was
Right.
requiring this definition of who was native. And
No.
so that might not be a problem anymore.
I don't think it was where they were getting their funding. It was, so the woman's name was Dawn, and she was a Wampanoag who didn't qualify for tribal enrollment herself. And so you had all kinds of and then you had a lot of people on there that had just recently been recognized, so it was just all this lateral crapiola going on.
It
Yeah.
was weird because I remember them questioning Sean card carrying, you
Yeah.
know.
I know. Yeah. So that's all gone, and they're doing that specific project right now on
Public
the
art.
public spaces. So
Right.
I think we're in good shape. I haven't called them, but you and I can work together on like drawing up a little blip a statement of what we're doing and what we're looking for, and I'll call them, and then we'll go from there.
And I can also check the Arts Council. They do public art funding
Yes.
as well.
We do.
Don't know what their schedule is like, but
Yeah.
so what would be nice is if we could pay the artist and have money to produce the product,
Yes.
whether it's a sign or whatever.
Yeah, we definitely want materials and artistic work. Yeah.
Now, do you want me to reach out to Francine and kind of gauge her possible interest? Or do you want me to hold off on that?
Let's. Or do we want to be open about it and let people pitch us ideas and pick artists? Or do we want to think about who we want to do it and approach them?
Good question. I'd like to see
so-
multiple, no matter what. You know, I don't want to see
Yeah.
one person doing it all. I like to see multiple people, but it might be easier for the first round to have someone we know. For those of you who don't know Francine, I think most of you have seen my book on lacrosse. She did all the artwork for that book. Just to give you an idea of what her art looks like.
We had stuff up at MChem. At the
Yep.
museum. Yeah.
Yeah, she does a beautiful job. I have no question. I'm just thinking maybe that if we put out I used to know what it means. Thank you. A request for proposals.
They
So
just did that for the mural in Hopkinton. That's why I know that.
And I did it all the time, and I've just been away from it. But anyway, so yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking, Brian, is we'll do that. And before we do the request for proposals, I think we need to nail down a little more what our sites look like, because we haven't even talked about. So I'm starting to get this picture that for this project, there's going to be a little mini trail that starts in Henniker. It's going to include the feet on the trail. It's going to include something that earmarks maybe just a sign on the core property where they have the first sawmill sign. Something that talks about that being a site of at least a part of the village. Then it's going to go around into Coosuk, the village of Coosuk, and Hopkinton a little bit, and then it's going to go up to Warner. So we're following the Coosuk River. Then we'll go into Warner. Lynn, you've been talking about wanting to do your own little trail in Warner, right?
I had, I was feeling that we did so much with Black history, and the whole Lenten series are writing about all these Black residents. It's like, man, wouldn't it be great to do this for Native people? So, again, where the boundaries are meaningless is Davisville,
Right.
So that incorporates, all of us there. There were people in Warner a family who had an industry in Warner that they kind of kept quiet about being Native. And I don't know if we talk to the descendants, if they would still feel comfortable, because I have a feeling they may have left Vermont because of eugenics. So, it's lovely from my perspective to want to tell that story, but not if it's going to re-traumatize the family.
Right.
But what's great from, again, a historian's perspective is it's showing that these people were there in the 20th century, living right there and having a business in Warner. But then you and Liz were living in Warner, you're still there.
Right.
You're still there. Liz
Right.
is gone, but you're still there.
Did she move? I was wondering if she had moved.
She did. She moved to Brattleboro.
Okay, great. So yeah, we have that, and then the Indian Museum is there.
The Indian Museum is there, and I was always thinking it'd be nice to talk about Mount Kearsarge from a Native perspective.
Yep, we can do that. Yep, and then there was that basket maker.
Right, who might be African Native American.
Yeah.
Certainly the baddest. They're even called the baddest tribe.
Yeah, we have that. Yeah.
But so we don't know. But we can work on it, man. If we could straighten out the Haskell genealogy, that'd be amazing.
So there's the baddest, but then there was another black basket maker that I thought was a question of,
Well, it's Bill Haskell, who was right on Main Street in Warner.
yeah,
And first, we're thinking maybe he's an African Native American, but not 100% sure.
so he's the one tied to the Battis.
Let me. He might be intermarried into descendants of that family through Anthony Clark, but there was a group in Andover, and I'd have to look at my notes to see if it was his mother or grandmother, who was listed as a nurse. So when I see that in the census, I'm like native, but so it's ephemeral. So I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, we know we want Warner, and then Bradford. Once we get over to Bradford, if they come on board with this, we've got Massasauga, and we've talked about that. There's an Indian tie-up. Martha's been to see that. It's on the Martha. Is that located in Henniker or Bradford technically?
I believe it's in Bradford, but I didn't get to the right one. I'm sure we were near it, but
Right.
there are people in Henniker who know where it is.
Right, and I think we have people in Bradford too that know. I think Sonny Harris knows where it is, and Chris Mock. But at any rate, then have always been convinced that the Bradford Springs and the Bradford Bog, where you have the furthest north Atlantic white cedar, are sacred places. And so I want to hear more. I think we know who owns Bradford Springs now, I think. Anyway, we need to do some work around what, if any, artifacts have ever been found at those sites. But so I'm thinking that encompasses this first project, that it's going to be a mini trail within, and there'll be, so Brian, that answers your question. That's a lot of sites.
Right. Yep.
And then from there, it's not a far jump to Newbury. And then we're at Lake Sunapee. We're at that big junction for our next step in the project. And then from that big junction, if you look at Price's map, now you can go to Keene, other places over, like straight across to more, and up to White River Junction. And that's a major hub of trails that come together at Lake Sunapee at Newbury. So we'll go in a lot of directions from there. And Lynn, I was really fascinated with what you were talking about in Claremont, because that I think would get tied into the Newbury story, but that's our next project, not this one.
Right. I should share with you, I found in one of the Boston and Maine Railroad books that they have in Newbury, Louis Watso shipping his basket materials on the train from Claremont to Newbury.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And the Newbury Historical Society just loves everything to do with Louis Watso and his history there. And they're just going to be head over heels about this project. And yeah, they spent a lot of time in Claremont, and we're good friends with Steve Luco, his grandson, who remembers him, or his great-grandson. Steve's mom died, but she was coming to our language camps, and when she heard the language, she started to remember Kinawa, and look at this, look at that, and that was like so fun when she was remembering that, because she's like, oh, I don't remember any of it. And so she was like, wait a minute, that's what my grandfather used to say. Oh, that means look at this, look at that. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think that'll be a really fun place too. I think these are all fun places. I think we've got a lot of information, a lot of myths to bust, a lot of new history, a new perspective on old history. What do you think, Martha? Do we sound crazy?
I don't,
Well, you know me, you know I'm crazy, but.
just don't bite off more than you can chew.
Right, yeah.
Well, I got some pretty talented partners here. They chew a lot.
I wanted to let people know, a couple weeks ago, Bob and I went to look at this famous chimney facility. We get there, and the gentleman that took us there, maintenance superintendent or whatever of the resort that's there now, the Orthodox church that owns the place. He was all excited to have an archaeologist come and tell him all about this Indian chimney. Bob walks up to him and goes, I have no idea what it is. Started giving him ideas, you know, that these stone walls were for sheep. So possibly the farmer that was here with his sheep made charcoal. This could have been his pit. He tried to get samples, but the ground was so rocky, he couldn't get any samples at all. So, kind of deflated because I've heard these stories a long time. He took us out to a sawmill site, and they've cleaned it up a lot, and it's the foundation is pristine. It looks beautiful. So Bob looks at me and goes, Daryl, close your eyes. Remember the chimney? Look at this foundation. It's built the same way. So I was like, why did I invite you to come along to look at this thing? Because now it's not Native American. But he's going to send some pictures off to some experts. And so I guess I should have let him tell it, but I was excited. It's another myth that may have been busted.
Yeah, I went out with David Stewart Smith. It was our last walk in the woods.
Okay.
And, you know, he looked at it and said, I've seen things like this before. It's some early industry site, but it's not native. So, you know, Sharon and I were talking, it's like, well, maybe somewhere in this project we should address why there's like Indian stone here, Indian chimney there, and Indian this and that. And none of it's true.
Right. And the other thing, I mean, Bob was able to point, I think his name was Mark or Mike. My memory's like yours when I'm losing it. But anyway, he was able to point him into the right direction for Cloughville, because that's where Cloughville was in that part of West Hawkins. So he was all excited about that. And so I have another idea, and I don't know how anyone's going to feel about it. But everyone has cell phones now, correct? What about if we did an app for your cell phone for the trail?
I think that would be cool.
Do it GPS wise, so you have to go to the site to get the information. Like a little trail on its own. I'm kind of hoping that one of my intelligent sons might be able to help. How do you do
Your
that?
grandson.
Yeah. Yeah, well, my grandson's not even a year old yet, but
Oh,
I was thinking about that at work today when this photographer was talking to me about he'd like a picture of where the trail was going to start, and so I got my cell phone in my hands, I'm texting them, I'm like, an app.
Right.
You get,
Well,
Heather can talk about the Clio app, which is what we
Yeah.
used for the driving tour around Hopkinton.
Right, right. And so that's a pre-existing app. It's free. It was developed by academics. And so it's nice because you can go in and you can create these sort of standalone sites, and then you can link them together into a driving tour.
so you guys have already done this?
yeah.
Well, yeah, and I
railroad.
had a link to it. If you'd probably have to scroll back a whole bunch, but in the Facebook conversation, if you scroll back, one of the things that I said, here's a link to the driving tour that we developed. So, I mean, that's something to look at, and that's nice because you can include audio in there. You know, you can include for more information, you can include images. You know, so I mean, it can be like as much or as little as you wanted to make of it.
Oh, awesome.
You could add language. That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
I like
it makes it
that.
more interactive.
Yeah.
Song, could enter.
Yep.
Got song.
Yeah, a lot of museums are doing that now. You know, instead of just looking at what's there, they have apps that you can download on your phone when you get there, and you can go from one exhibit to another, and it gives you an explanation. The Pequot Museum has something like that, where exactly what you guys said, you'll go to something and it'll say, what it is in 6 different native languages and a song for each. So yeah, it was really neat. I took my son last year.
Cool. All right, gang, I think we've kind of summed up what are the big to-do things to get out of here. Lynn and I are gonna start writing our thing up. And talking to funding sources, right?
Yeah.
Brian's gonna work with Nancy, Joe, and Bob on sites. Joe's gonna talk to lots of reporters.
Talk to who?
Lots of reporters.
Okay.
The Corps of Engineers about,
Yeah, I
we're
just
gonna
looked
talk to
at
them
that.
about signage. So now you can talk specifically about a sign at that little park in Henniker where the first sawmill was. Or also any other place along their property. And then we have to schedule our kayak rides. Who wants to go on the kayak ride? I do.
I do.
I
I
would
don't
like
have
to
a-
if I can get up there.
Yeah, I don't have a kayak.
So my friend Tom's wife has 3 and Martha has 2. Is there a place in Henniker we can rent them, Martha? I think Martha has a worse connection than me. Yay!
Not that I know of.
I have a canoe, but I don't know. Do you guys think my canoe would go in the river good?
Same with-
Probably
I
would, right?
wouldn't trust it.
No. So we have 5. Does anybody else have their own?
I can probably get my hands on a couple. I was thinking more of a motorboat, but that's okay.
I'll go with you in the motorboat.
I knew I'd get some passengers.
Can I come in too, Daryl?
Oh, what Tom told me was, for people who know Bonnie Morse in Hillsborough, her husband Walt Morse was a state trooper. Bonnie is no spring chicken, and she paddled the paddle kayak in the Coosuk River. So if she can do it, he said any of us can.
All right, I'll bring a life jacket. We're gonna have life jackets and everything. Better have that.
Barry, get back to me. I'm being dragged out of the house by my husband for a selectmen's meeting. So I gotta go.
All right.
Bye,
so-
guys. Nice to meet you.
Bye,
What day-
Martha. I
Bye,
want
Martha.
to talk to you about Black history in Henniker soon.
Martha, what date do you want to do the kayak thing? This week, next week?
It's good. Ooh, next week maybe if I go.
I think Martha's left us.
No,
No,
I
she's
haven't
here.
left yet.
Oh, good.
I'm looking at my calendar, actually. Fridays are not good for me anytime. All
right.
Monday or Tuesday next week during the day. Yeah. That's all next week, Monday or Tuesday. And the following week, I'm free Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
All right, we'll pick a time. So Monday, Tuesday next week, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday the following week.
Yep.
All right, we'll pick a day, and I will email you it. Have fun at your selectmen's meeting.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Say hi to
Martha.
everybody. All right. So when do people want to do the Henniker part of the kayak ride? Monday, Tuesday next week, or Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday the following week?
The following week would be better for me.
Okay.
Me too.
All right. I have a little time left.
So we're talking the 24th, the 25th, or the 26th.
Yep.
Is any day not good for anybody? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 24th, 25th, 26th?
Nope.
They're
Guys,
all good for me.
I have to sign off too, by the way. I got to take the little man to karate.
Okay, Brian, if
All
you
right.
were gonna go on this kayak trip, does it matter to you if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
No, either way, I have to take a day off. So if you pick a day, I'll see if I can get the day off.
Okay, great. Have fun with the little one.
All right. Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye,
Yeah,
Brian.
Hi.
I'm thinking Wednesday, it's hump day. It's a nice thing in the middle of the week. Shall we pick Wednesday, the 26th?
Sounds good.
Sure.
All right. Okay, guys, I think that we've covered everything. Does anybody think we haven't?
I gotta get going.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Angela. So Sherry, if you could send out a to-do list so we remember what we're supposed to be doing, that'd be great.
I will. I'll type up the to-do list. Perfect. Let me write that down or I won't remember. Okay, guys. Well, thank you, everybody. I think it was a good meeting. And hopefully we can bring somebody from Bradford on board and finalize that leg of our little mini trail here.
You want to think about Tracy Quigley?
I was going to say maybe Tracy.
Yeah, so Tracy is the name that that I had gotten. I put, well, let me go check right now. Wait a minute. No, they haven't responded. I tried their Facebook page, but they haven't responded yet. And now I just lost the camera. Yeah, now I see you. So, yeah, maybe Tracy will get back to me. Sunny Harris is, Sonny's a character, but I know he knows a lot about town. I don't know who Tracy Quigley is. It's not a name I recognize. And my family has
She
lived
was
in-
at MKIM years ago. She recently was one of the co-owners of the Village Cafe, and she's involved in the Bradford Historical Society. And I can't remember if she was being co-president or what. Well, the other person would be Lori Buchar. I don't know how involved she is with the Historical Society right now, but she's the other person who knows a lot about Bradford history.
Okay. When we were talking about the Indian guy in the
Peter Newell?
Yeah, Peter Newell in the 1950s or 60s or 40s, whatever.
Yeah.
I think those people are all newer to Bradford than that. My family's been there since 1790. And,
I think I think he was fairly recently from Canada. He was born in Canada.
No. I'm talking about for a person to work on the project to have
Oh,
new
no.
area. So Quigley and Buchanan, and I know a little bit about her. Sonny Harris's family's been in Bradford long enough that he's probably going to know who that guy was and remember him, or his father did, or grandfather. So
right.
I want to try Sonny first, and then I messaged the Historical Society. You had given me Tracy's name, and so I was seeing who's going to respond to me from their Facebook page, which seems to be active. They made a post August 6th, so it's not dead. So we'll get who we can get. I'm just, and maybe they'll even just suggest somebody that I'm really miss Millie. Millie Ingalls was, that wasn't her married name. Her maiden name was Ingalls, and she was from Warner, and she was my mother's very distant cousin, Ingalls. But Millie knew the area really well, and I miss her, but she's gone. So we have to find a replacement who knows some of the old stories. And
yeah, it's probably Rebecca. She probably knows Warner and Bradford.
probably does. Sonny probably knows a lot of the. I know he knows a lot of the old stories, and he calls me frequently on the Native American questions. Whenever a question comes up, he'll give me a call and ask me about it. So, anyway, we'll see. But hopefully we can get them on board soon. And other than that, I think we're doing pretty good, guys.
Cool.
People feel like we're moving fast enough.
Oh my gosh, you're moving so fast. Yeah.
All right.
Faster than the Black Heritage Trail.
Cool. Did you hear that, Daryl? You're zooming.
Yeah.
All right.
That's good because I repeated what you said about wanting to have something going before snowfall this year.
Yeah.
To monitor, and your name's going to be in the paper. So
Ho, ho, ho,
I
ho.
live up to it.
Very well. Okay, so thank you all. I think we'll not try to set up another meeting date now. We know we're getting together on the 26th for the kayak ride. I can't wait to see Daryl in a kayak. Woohoo.
I don't think I'll be there. I'm pretty sure I won't.
Torpedoes away.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right.